Hey guys, I been doing some camping in the Model 3, and one of the things I've run into is finding a comfortable mattress to kind of sleep in it. So I tried buying like a twin size foam pad to put into the car to lay on that. Worked well enough, but it's kind of a pain to store. So looking online, you kind of have two main competitors. I don't know if it's the same company. They've used the same font, same pretty much style. The one website I found where they sell both of them, you could use the same promo code to get a discount on either one of them. Anyway, you have Tescamp, Tesmat, and you have a phone that keeps focusing on my hands instead of what I'm pointing at. So anyway, those are the two. So I have both of them laid out. Tried laying on both of them to kind of see which one I like more. One thing I have noticed, right, is if you have the color, the Tesmat or Tescamp, right, it ends up like it's got this textured material, but the textured material, it almost ends up looking, I guess they both kind of have the same effect. I mean, it's the same fill, it's kind of plush. But, you know, between the two, if I kind of move my hand on both of them, that one kind of looks like it's wet or something. Yeah, like right here, right? It looks kind of nefarious. Anyway, I don't know. I don't think that was a good color choice. Dark colors are always kind of a good way to go with any of that stuff. So yeah, so I got the two, laid them both out, kind of going over it from top to bottom. Tescamp, it's smaller. It's about 2.5 inches thick for the foam. The Tesmat is about 3 inches thick. So you would think that that's not going to make that big of a difference between the two of them. But I can tell you, you know, I laid on both of them, and I could feel a difference between the two. And the Tesmat felt softer to me, or it seemed to be more kind of supportive. I think that extra 1/2 inch did make a difference on when I was laying on it, on how it felt. And when I push it down, you know, with my hand, you can feel a difference, right? This resists me pushing it down a whole lot more than the Tescamp does. Another thing, let me push it down and show you, is how fast it refills. This is already refilled, and this is more like Tempur-Pedic, like high density memory foam. So it still hasn't popped all the way back up. But they both crush at about the same rate. It's just this one refills a lot slower on the Tescamp than the Tesmat does. That Tesmat refills almost instantly. When I push on them, I mean, I've got them right next to each other, right? So using the palm of my hand, I can push them down, and it feels about the same once you crush both of them, right? How much padding you have underneath you. So anyway, I feel like the Tesmat feels a little bit more, I don't even know if you'd say supportive, just feels like there's more underneath you, so you don't feel the hard surface as much. It also doesn't look as dingy when you have the material going the wrong way. So there's that. So the thickness, that seems to matter. The width, the Tescamp is 35 inches wide. Tesmat is 37 inches wide. So when I put them in the 3, the Tesmat fits a lot tighter. It almost feels like it kind of holds the 3 pieces together better than the Tescamp. The Tescamp kind of felt like they separated a little bit. But I was just using a twin fitted sheet. I'm going to buy the Tesmat branded fitted sheet to where you put it inside of it and then use, I'm assuming you zip it closed, and then it will hold those 3 together better. That is something else that I noticed too, is the mat, it has kind of this material between it. So it's more like a honeycomb material. So that, I don't sleep in the buff or anything, but I don't have anything on my legs. And I did on the fitted sheet, it popped off on the bottom of it, just kind of pulled it up and came off. And that was kind of irritating to my skin. It's not soft at all. So it was kind of, felt a little bit like, not sandpaper, but I didn't like it. I did not enjoy that material. But on the Tescamp, it's got that same plush material all the way around. So I never had that same feeling when this would touch my skin. It didn't irritate. But this Tesmat, and it's all the way around it. It's on, you know, all three sides. So if you come in contact with it, it's kind of irritating. And then even in the folds, right? They didn't use this soft material where these two folded together. And maybe longevity, that's better. I don't know. But like, you're laying on it and you can see, right, that material bubbles up. And when you had the fitted sheet, it wasn't that big of a deal because it covered it, but it's still, you know, it's not soft. It's just, anyway, that's an irritating material to have on the edge of the pads, and the Tescamp did not have that. So the Tescamp, I like how they wrap their padding a whole lot more. I like how it's soft all the way around. You don't have that irritant. But the 37 inches here felt like it, you know, was held in tighter. They didn't separate as much, right? Because they were kind of being held in place because they didn't have a lot of room to shift. Whereas the Tescamp, it wasn't a lot of room, you know, 2 inches, but it was enough to where these would kind of separate a little bit. So I ended up just pushing them all kind of to one side, and then they didn't separate as bad. So not as thick, not as wide, thicker, wider. This one, to me, feels like it supports you a little bit better, but super irritating material on the side. No irritating material on the side. The Tesmat also has the bag that you can, if for some reason you want to have a kegger or something when you're out camping in your Tesla, this is a cooler bag too. So it's got the cooler material. The Tescamp does not. It's just a bag. One thing I did like about the Tescamp is that, the Tescamp, it's got two of these like tie downs to hold the bedding together, and they slide together like that. And so you have two of them that are kind of holding everything in place. Whereas with the Tesmat, I'm not finding it. There's just one big one. And maybe, I'm looking around. Oh, here it is. There we go. And maybe it originally came with two. I don't know. But here's the Tesmat. And so it just had one on it, like right in the middle. So they both connect the same way, that they, you know, slide together. This one actually has a magnet that pulls it together. So if you get fairly close, you can see the metal there, and then the metal there. And it will, if you get close enough, it snaps together. So that's what holds it. And maybe they originally came with two, I don't know. But this one just had one, right? So the two sides kind of flare up around it versus the Tescamp where it's held flat. And so part of that single holder is you'll see the top piece is all bowed because all of this material it wants to expand, right? And so however you're holding the pads down, you can see, let me get over here. You see that? See where it bows? So it bows right there because that's where the strap went. And so the material, as it expands, it's pushing here, it's pushing there, it's being held in place here. So it ends up causing a curve. The Tescamp does not have that because it's being held on both sides. So the wood, and maybe I should explain that, right? So there's 3 just regular foam pieces, and then on both of them, let me flip this over, there's a foam on the front and there's wood underneath it. So this is what you use to go over the rear seat, right? And it creates a hard platform for the last 3 pieces so that any gaps or anything on that seat, right, you're not falling into it and the foam's not falling into it. It's actually, you know, a hard surface. But you can see how much of that is bent. Yeah, you can really see it there. It's almost like a boomerang. It's bent so much. So what my plan is I'm not going to store these in the case when I'm not using them, because, you know, foam doesn't like to be compressed. If you compress it for a long time, then it just won't expand to the same space. So I have just a twin size bed on a box spring, right, that has like a, I don't know, 6 or 8 inch gap underneath it because it's one of those metal frames. And I'm just going to lay the bed just like this underneath, and then I'll put this one on top or that one on top. I don't know, we'll get frisky. But these 2 will be sitting underneath that bed just like they are now, right? And so that foam can expand and not stay in a compressed state. So maybe the concern of a single tie down warping versus 2 tie downs not warping, maybe that's not a concern if you lay them out like my plan. Oh, something else too. So one thing that was cool about the Tescamp, the Tescamp fits in the front. It fits in there perfectly. It's like they designed it that way. So this one fit right into the front. The Tescamp, or Tesmat, it's not a lot bigger, but it's, you know, it's enough. It's probably an inch taller that you can't really close your frunk with the Tesmat. But the Tesmat fits in the footwell in the back of the car in the trunk. That fits in there perfect. So if you care what's in your frunk versus your trunk, if you want this in your front, if you want the bed in your front, Tescamp works great. If you want it in your trunk, the Tesmat works great, right? Both of those spaces aren't really a highly used area. At least for me, I don't put a lot of stuff in the footwell, meaning in the back of the trunk behind the axle. There's that footwell. I had a Model S, and that's where the kids' feet would sit when they were facing backwards. So I've called it a footwell for as long as I've had Teslas. So yeah, so this fits in the footwell. This fits in the front. This also fits in the footwell. It just has, you know, a little bit of wasted space above it or underneath it, whatever your prerogative is, right? So yeah, so between the 2, I don't know. I really like the Tesmat. I feel like it's softer. I feel like it supports you better. The Tescamp, it also supports you just fine, right? It's not a terrible difference between the 2. Maybe I should go down like that so you can see kind of the difference, right? So, you know, it's about a 1/2 inch, about a finger, well, at least my finger distance, right, between those 2. The depth difference, so 2.5 versus like 3 inches. But it does feel, at least when I'm laying on it, it feels like this just has a little bit more support. But I can tell you that material right there, that is just irritating. So next time I use this, I'm probably going to take like 2 fitted sheets, or I might get the Tesmat sheet, as I was saying earlier, right? Put that on it to hold them into place, and then maybe I'll put a fitted sheet over it so that I don't fill that through the sheet, because that's, I mean, it's really like almost webbing. It's like a abrasive nylon, like laying on old nylon grandma's carpet type thing. So yeah, I don't know if you gotta sharpen a knife or something, maybe you can use that as a whetstone. So yeah, I think they're both great options. I do really like, you know, how much thicker it is, how much wider it is. It doesn't seem to separate as much. It doesn't look, you know, nasty when you move the material the wrong direction. Like, oh, what's been going on here? Who made a stain, right? This one has a little bit of it. And maybe it looks just as bad, I don't know. But something about that silver just looks off. But, you know, if it's beer 30, you got your beer cooler. So yeah, I think either one's a viable option. This one, I think new is like 50 bucks more than that one. So if you want to save 50 bucks, I think you're going to be fine with the Tescamp versus Tesmat. So hopefully that was helpful. Let me know if you have any questions. I'll try to reply to any questions you guys have, and I can make a follow-up video if there's any specific questions or anything. So, other than, you know, why do I have both of them? Because, you know, I just do. So have a great day, and if these videos are helpful at all, you know, like, subscribe, all that fun stuff. I don't have enough subscribers that this channel generates any money. I just make it to hopefully help other Tesla owners make kind of decisions as they go through, you know, learning about Teslas and whatnot. That just looks gross up there. Gotta tell you, I like the black a lot more. All right, have a good one.